The following presentation shares the findings of our argumentative research paper entitled Advocating Against Social Media Censorship of Political Discourse, which argues against social media censorship of online political dialogue. In the past decade, social media has proven its ability to offer users with a highly intimate and interactive communication and information space. Indeed, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok have gradually become an essential component of individuals' routines and daily lives. To elaborate, social media has the capacity and usage to access and stimulate political discourse, movements, and analysis. Nonetheless, this ubiquity may be equally used by those seeking to manipulate public opinion by censoring information, allowing the proliferation of one-sided discourse only. Specifically, deceptive actors have an equal opportunity to influence public opinion by using social media platforms as avenues for political gain, seeking to influence the masses for the fulfillment of their personal agendas. Therefore, our thesis is that censorship activities on social media stifles diverse perspectives, silences opposition, and instills fear. The purpose of addressing such a thesis is to argue against social media censorship in online political discourse. The first major source chosen is an article entitled Echo Chambers on Social Media, a systematic review of the literature, written by Ludovic Tarin and Rosa Borg. This article is peer-reviewed and published in the journal Review of Communication Research, Volume 9 in 2021. In their article, Tarin and Borg examine the different approaches, similarities, differences, benefits, and drawbacks of echo chambers on social media platforms. The first source was important to advance the first pro-argument of the thesis, indicating that social media platforms engage in censorship activities which ultimately restrict the diversity of perspectives. Therefore, the article was used to show that individuals who seek political discourse on social media may find themselves trapped within a homogeneous echo chamber. By definition, an echo chamber is an environment in which a person encounters only beliefs or opinions that coincide with their own, so that their existing views are reinforced and alternative ideas are not considered. According to Tarin and Borg, YouTube may be considered a platform that further reinforces individuals' presence in echo chambers. In particular, there may be an extreme right filter bubble in this case, where individuals who click on extreme right content may be more likely to receive recommendations for more extreme right content.
The second major source chosen is an article entitled Political Effects of the Internet and Social Media, written by Ekaterina Zurevskaya, Maria Petrova, and Robin Inikolopov. Like the first article, this one is also peer-reviewed, making its contents credible and reliable. It's published in the journal Annual Review of Economics, Volume 12 in 2020. In this article, Zurevskaya shows how social media is affected by local and global politics. The second source was important to advance to the second pro-argument of the thesis, indicating that partisans belonging to specific political parties may manipulate social media for their own benefit. Therefore, the article was used to show partisan manipulation is done through implicit efforts of suppression rather than full censorship. Zurevskaya advanced this pro-argument by providing numerous examples, one of which is Chinese censorship is founded on very minor frictions. This conclusion was based on the author's collection of data from the Chinese internet and leaks from China's propaganda department. The majority of users are prevented from accessing free information on the internet by even minor time and financial constraints.
The third major source chosen is a book chapter entitled Chilling Effects on Free Expression, Surveillance, Threats, and Harassment, written by Elizabeth Aid. This chapter is part of the book Making Transparency Possible by R. Crowell and M. Thousand. By introducing a book chapter, the academic sources used for this argumentative research paper are diversified while still maintaining a high degree of reliability and credibility. In turn, the main idea of this chapter is to address the implications of global surveillance and censorship on the press and political discourse. The third source was important to advance the third pro-argument of the thesis, indicating that the censorship activities conducted by social media platforms or its users may ultimately reflect in the general public's increased fear of repercussions. Therefore, the article was used to show that censorship activities, blurring the boundaries of what is and is not permissible, reinforce the general public's fear and makes them conscious about the information they share. In turn, AID provides concrete and tangible numbers to support this claim. She shows that concerns over government monitoring of Americans were voiced by 85% of US PEN members, which include journalists, writers, and translators, while 73% expressed concern about press freedom and privacy rights. Nearly all expressed concern about the government attempts to force journalists to disclose the sources of secret material, with the majority expressing extreme concern. In addition, more than 25% of the respondents said they avoided social media entirely or limited their exposure to it since the Snowden revelations. Similarly, 1/4 refrained from discussing specific topics over the phone, with 16% also refraining from explicitly writing or discussing sensitive topics. A number of respondents also mentioned that they were reluctant to speak with friends or sources who lived overseas for fear of putting them in danger.
To provide a broader perspective on the issue at hand, several counter-arguments were raised supporting censorship activities. In fact, some critics may claim that these activities are necessary to combat crime, limit propaganda, and eliminate the threat of misinformation. However, these counter-arguments were refuted, showing that censorship activities lead to more covert forms of organized crime, paves the way for additional propaganda where anti-government opinions are censored on social media, and becomes a tool to stifle political dissent and controlling public discourse.
Consequently, there are numerous elements which make this paper significant. The first of which being the strong supportive arguments used. Indeed, the paper encompasses an exploration of the complex impact of social media censorship on democratic integrity, highlighting how restrictions can suppress diverse political perspective, manipulate discourse, and instill fear. In addition, this paper provides a balanced view and acknowledges the presence of opposing opinions. Indeed, it provides a counter-argument, claiming that censorship is assumed to play a role in combating harmful content like terrorism and misinformation, and most importantly, it proceeds to refute it. Furthermore, the paper consistently includes relevant examples, using factual information and statistical evidence to support various claims. It uses the examples of Turkey and Russia to showcase how initial intentions of maintaining public order through censorship can devolve into tools of authoritative control.
Nevertheless, it's equally important to acknowledge the presence of limitations in the present paper, most of which were methodological. Indeed, the paper includes source selection bias. The selection of sources, despite the provision of counter-argument, may have been chosen to advance the thesis. Therefore, the research concerning the merits of censorship may equate those discussing its harms. However, because the paper is advocating against censorship, this selection may be understandable. In addition, there is a lack of primary evidence. The present research used articles which employed the use of secondary resources. Therefore, it may have been challenged to provide novel, empirical evidence on the present problem.